A street vendor in China tried to prove the quality of its pots by aggressively smashing and stomping on them, but no one showed any interest. Witnessing this scene evokes a sense of deep sorrow. China's economy is deteriorating, with unemployment rates rising sharply. Many people are struggling to cope with the harsh realities of their daily lives. A company boss sitting in his Mercedes broke down, screaming and crying. The desperation is palpable even through the screen. The poor economic situation in China has forced many companies to the brink, leaving this boss with no choice but to sell his car and house. Reflecting on the fruits of his hard work, his heart is filled with bitterness. To earn some money, a middle-aged man carried a 140-pound freezer up Mount Lemay to make deliveries. If you didn't see it with your own eyes, would you believe this is happening in modern China? When asked to describe their current life in one word, Chinese citizens often respond with tiring, bitter, or difficult. The words of an outstanding master's graduate from Beijing Foreign Studies University at the graduation ceremony left everyone speechless.
要是我没上过大学就好了。如果我没上过大学，我就可以心安理得地去当服务员。
If I hadn't gone to college, it would have been so much better. If I hadn't gone, I could have comfortably worked as a waitress. But now that I have a degree, I can't bring myself to do that anymore. Without a degree, I could have found a job without educational requirements and wouldn't be stuck in this dilemma. I really want to be a nail beautician, but with a master's degree, my family would never accept it. Without college, I could have taken a mediocre job and not be in this difficult job hunt. Doing ordinary physical work feels like a waste of my years of effort and my parents' expectations. They say education changes your destiny, but it hasn't changed mine. It's become a shackle instead.
Young people's breakdowns happen in an instant. Watching this young woman cry as she spoke was heart-wrenching.
Sometimes I wonder, what was the point of going to college? I majored in copywriting and planning, with only a few specialized courses each week, and the rest were subjects like Marxist modern history, social practice courses, employment courses, and entrepreneurship courses. I know a little bit about everything, but I'm proficient in nothing. After graduating, I realized that my job can be done by people from other majors or even those who didn't go to college. Since graduation, I've interviewed at nearly 50 companies. Some internships didn't pay a single penny, and they wouldn't even offer a permanent position. I mean, is there something wrong with their brains?
With the economy in decline, wage arrears have become commonplace in Chinese enterprises. What used to be a yearly struggle for farmers to collect their wages now affects construction workers, bus drivers, hospital staff, and others across various industries. Many gather in front of government offices to demand their unpaid salaries. Even those who were once in charge during the pandemic lockdowns, known as the White Guards, have joined the protests demanding their wages. The pandemic has ended, but the government has been unable to pay them what they are owed. This is the current reality in China, a sluggish economy, widespread public discontent, and a country shrouded in the cries of decline. Companies are closing down, businesses are shutting their doors, the stock market is crashing, housing prices are plummeting, jobs are being lost, wages are being delayed, people are afraid to spend, and young people are opting out of the workforce. In summary, life is tough has become the most talked about issue among the Chinese people today. China's economy is like a wild beast, unpredictable under the high-pressure governance of the Chinese Communist Party. It can make you rich overnight, or strip you of everything in an instant. In the past, China isolated itself from the West, and its citizens survived in extreme poverty. A single natural disaster could lead to the starvation of millions. After opening up to the outside world, numerous foreign companies flocked to China. The government promoted a money-oriented society, leading to 20 years of rapid economic growth. Skyscrapers sprang up everywhere, and society became polarized, creating both rich and poor. The wealth of the rich overshadowed the existence of the poor, and the immense purchasing power of the Chinese impressed the world, much like the frenzy of Chinese women buying gold. The COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, but only China's government enforced the most inhumane lockdown measures. Under the zero-COVID policy, man-made disasters were frequent, and people couldn't buy essential goods despite having money. Clashes between residents and white guards, the pandemic enforcers, were common as people fought for food. 4 years later, people realized they had entered a different world. Their way of life from 4 years ago had disappeared because their pockets were empty. Those who once proudly praised China's economic rise are now tightening their belts, preparing for hard times. After 2 years of the pandemic, waves of closures and unemployment swept across the country. According to media reports from Guangdong, over 3,000 factories in Dongguan ceased operations in the first half of 2022 alone. In the first half of 2023, an estimated 460,000 companies closed down in China, 3.1 million self-employed individuals deregistered, and around 3.73 million restaurants shut their doors. For the entire year, 200 million people lost their jobs. As China's young unemployment rate reached a historic high, the National Bureau of Statistics announced in August 2023 that they would no longer publish unemployment data due to improvements in their survey methods. The last recorded youth unemployment rate in June 2023 was 21.3%, the highest since statistics began in 2018. In July 2023, Peking University Associate Professor Zhang Dandan pointed out in a study that if those who are not working or living off their parents are included, the actual unemployment rate for youth in China could have been as high as 46.5% in March. In February, the Chinese Academy of Financial Inclusion at the Renmin University of China published a Small and Micro-Enterprise Financial Health Report. The report, based on a survey of 2,349 small enterprises, found that over a third of the respondents admitted to their financial situation being poor. The report highlighted that small and micro enterprises in Henan and Shanxi were particularly financially unhealthy, while those in Guangxi and Chongqing exhibited significant financial disparities. Approximately 80% of small businesses face serious issues with overdue receivables and significant cash flow pressures. Overall, small and micro enterprises still face difficulties in obtaining financing and high financing costs. With mounting debt, this could trigger a domino effect leading to widespread business closures, affecting the employment of 180 million people. People hoped for a turnaround in 2024, but the harsh reality is that China's post-pandemic recovery has been disappointing, with an uncertain economic outlook. Consumer spending has tightened, leading to a large number of restaurant closures. According to the latest data from the National Bureau of Statistics, 460,000 restaurant businesses were deregistered or revoked in the first quarter of 2024, a 232.6% increase compared to the same period last year. A Weibo influencer with 83,000 followers, Catering Boss Insider, wrote on April 20th that after last year's entrepreneurial wave, the first quarter of this year saw the restaurant industry enter a high-speed elimination phase. Those unable to find a breakthrough have been left behind by the harsh reality. In the first quarter of this year, many well-known and long-established restaurant chains also closed down. For example, leading brands in the new Chinese baking industry, Tiger Attitude Chartered Pastry Bank, and Dim Sum Bureau of Momo, struggled for nearly 2 years before Tiger Attitude applied for bankruptcy liquidation, and Momo deregistered the company. Additionally, sub-brands of leading hot pot chains like Haidilao and Xiabu Xiabu and milk tea chain Nayuki closed down on a large scale. Not only are the incomes of ordinary people dwindling, but even those with previously secure jobs are struggling. According to a recent survey by Zhaopin, an online recruitment platform, about 32% of white-collar workers in China reported a decrease in their salaries last year. From real estate to technology and finance, these industries are facing significant challenges due to new regulations imposed by the Chinese government. Since the beginning of this year, China's banking industry has experienced a snowballing salary reduction trend. Some employees who previously earned over 10,000 yuan per month now take home less than 1,000 yuan. According to a report by the paper Zhao Jia, a client manager at a regional bank in western China, received her salary in April, which amounted to less than 1,000 yuan after deductions for mandatory social insurance and housing funds. Last month, this figure was over 2,000 yuan, and previously, her monthly salary exceeded 10,000 yuan. Zhao Jia has 12 years of experience in deposit and retail business, and has seen the most significant reduction in her monthly performance bonuses. This year, the commission for securing deposits has significantly decreased, causing her monthly salary to drop by more than 90%. Zhao Fei, chairman of Zhengzhou Bank, stated at the bank's performance briefing that the bank has proposed leaning towards the front line, optimizing resource allocation, and reducing costs and increasing efficiency. From 2024, senior management salaries will be reduced by 10% each year for 2 years, while the adjusted salary resources will be allocated to frontline employees. Since last year, salary cuts in the banking sector have been widely discussed. The topic of bank salary cuts has garnered millions of views online, with some netizens lamenting that they have experienced 2 rounds of salary cuts, reducing their average monthly salary from 8,000 to 4,000 yuan. Last month, financial media Yi Cai reported that senior executives at Ping An Bank saw salary cuts exceeding 40%, while those at China Merchants Bank and Minsheng Bank also faced cuts of over 30%. Moreover, several listed banks have implemented reverse salary recovery, drawing significant attention. By the end of March, at least 7 listed banks had disclosed that they would recover performance bonuses paid last year, amounting to a total of more than 50 million yuan. A mainland netizen posted on Weibo saying, "Just when I took on a mortgage, they announced salary cuts. Life is tough." Another netizen's post resonated with many, stating, "The current situation is that labor is cheap, the market is sluggish, and most people's incomes, already low due to unemployment, salary cuts, and layoffs, is further reduced, compounded by skyrocketing prices." According to Bloomberg, Mr. Hu, a worker in Shanghai, left his hometown nearly 10 years ago to work and finally bought a house in 2020. He also saved enough money to buy a car for his side job as a ride-hailing driver on weekends, boosting his family income and feeling optimistic about the future. 4 years later, he now feels desperate. House prices have fallen by nearly a quarter, and the ride-hailing business has also significantly declined. When chatting with passengers, he realized that most people are just like him, struggling in life and complaining about the incompetence of the authorities. Nationwide, regardless of income levels, both Chinese entrepreneurs and workers are seeing their wallets shrink. Huang, who trades in export power equipment in Guangdong, said the years before the pandemic were his golden years. He bought a Tesla Model X and a house in Shenzhen's Nanshan district. When discussing his current business, he said it has never been worse. Due to weak sales and an uncertain future, manufacturers are reluctant to lock in long-term contracts. Huang said that 2023 was even tougher for local businesses than the initial years of the pandemic. He knows many people caught in debt traps, struggling with expensive mortgages, and some have even had their homes auctioned off. Huang's company has laid off 5 workers. Giant real estate companies like Evergrande, which once rode the shining myth of Chinese real estate, have now collapsed, leaving 2.4 trillion yuan in debt and millions of unfinished properties across the country. The sharp drop in housing prices has left homeowners burdened with huge mortgages in misery. YouTube travel blogger Bacon, who has nearly 300,000 followers, lamented in a video that he bought a house in the Xixian New District of Xi'an at 11,000 yuan per square meter in 2019. After the pandemic, the price briefly rose to 16,000 yuan, but has now dropped to below 10,000 yuan. He said, "Now this house's price has almost wiped out the down payment." The Xixian New District, once touted as a national-level new district, could not stop the plunge in housing prices. Besides the plummeting house prices, mortgage interest rates have also become unbearable for Bacon's family of 3, leading them to sell everything to pay off some of the mortgage. Bacon's wife said, "In 4 years, we've paid off 31,000 yuan in principal and more than 200,000 yuan in interest. Fortunately, the bank reduced the interest rate a bit. When we took the loan, it was 5.6%. Now it's down to 4.2%. Bacon pointed out that in his neighborhood, There are now foreclosure homes circulating online, and over 100 second-hand homes are being sold with signs saying, "Urgent sale, price drop, owner about to default." Chen Yi, who is in the catering business in Chongqing, is also a distressed mortgage payer. On social media, Chen lamented that he bought a house in 2021 for over $1,000,000 yuan. After the pandemic lockdown, house prices fell by more than 300,000 yuan, but he still has to pay over 3,000 yuan in monthly mortgage payments. He said, "I feel like crying." Similarly, 40-year-old Wu Qiming regrets buying a house. In an interview with Radio Free Asia, he said he took out a loan of over 500,000 yuan in 2015 to buy a house in a third-tier inland city in a northern coastal province. Who knew that a few years after taking out the loan, the pandemic would hit? Wu Qiming said, "During the 3 years of the Wuhan pneumonia outbreak, our family income nearly hit zero. For about 7 months, I couldn't pay the mortgage, and the bank sued me. After various negotiations, his house was not auctioned off. A judge told him that their city had too many foreclosure homes, and his house probably wouldn't sell even in 3 years." According to the 100 Cities Price Index report released by the China Index Academy on February 1st, 2024, the average price of second-hand homes in 100 major cities in January was 15,230 yuan per square meter, a month-on-month decrease of 0.56%, marking the 21st consecutive month of decline. Year-on-year, the decline expanded to 3.96%. Except for a slight increase in Sanya's house prices, prices in the other 99 cities fell month-on-month, with second-hand residential prices in more than 90 cities dropping for 8 consecutive months. A person named Zhang Chao from Weifang, Shandong province, said that after 3 years of the pandemic, China's economy has not recovered as expected. With continuous national security reviews on companies by the Chinese government, many foreign companies have gradually withdrawn from China, leading to increased unemployment, reduced foreign investment, and significant salary cuts in government, state-owned enterprises, and public institutions, with some areas even experiencing salary delays. Due to reduced income, people are afraid to spend, leading to bleak business prospects and widespread closures. The deeper reason behind the reluctance to spend is the fear of the future. The rapid development of China's economy has brought enormous challenges and upheavals, increasing social uncertainty. Trade frictions, financial risks, and employment pressures constantly affect everyone's mindset. Seeking security has become the primary goal for many, making them hesitant to spend freely. Due to reduced incomes, Chinese young people are starting to count their pennies, with poor man's meals becoming increasingly popular. An online poor man's meal recipe shows spending 3 yuan on a buffet breakfast, choosing a 19.9 yuan set meal from KFC for lunch, having a 9.9 yuan coffee in the afternoon to stay awake, buying a 10 yuan noodle set from 7-Eleven for dinner, and after 8:30 p.m., going to Freshipo to pick up discounted items.